Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for joining me here today as we get to talk about one of my favorite subjects, comic books. My name is Jose. I love comic books. I love talking about them. I love sharing them with you. Feel free to follow me on social media if you would like. Links are in the description below. I've also posted a link to the Marvel fan site that'll have plot synopsis and character bios for this issue. The New Mutants, number 14 from 1983. Chris Claremont, writer. Sal Buscema is the penciler, and Tom Mandrake will be the inker. Nice use of screen tones here for sort of that shade. Um, Tom Mandrake is the cover artist here. As we've got Sim from if you've seen X-Men, oh, I think it's 160, and then of course the Ileana limited series or the Magic limited series. You'll be familiar. So this sort of picks up um, during the time of the Magic limited series, or right after it. So, do you believe in magic? Is the title of our story. Glynis Wein and Tom Orzechowski round up the creating team. Tom Orzechowski, one of the greatest letterers of all time. He is one of in my top three, with John Workman Jr. and Kevin Kline. Um, so she is picking up. Of course, we've only got three of these bloodstones, and she's supposed to then create two more and have this thing done. So, if you have questions on these bloodstones, feel free to check out the playlists that I have. I have a New Mutants playlist. I have a X Universe playlist and an Uncanny X-Men, or sorry, just X-Men playlist. So everything's done in reading order. So real quick, Ileana is Colossus' sister, and she spent years in limbo. So she went from 8 years old until basically 13. However, only like 10 seconds passed in real time. So while she was in there. So here we go. So she's looking at this. As I mentioned, these bloodstones were created, but 3 out of 5 here. So she's celebrating what would have been her birthday. So, and we're getting a lot of that stuff here that happened in that limited series. And so she was about to, looks like, throw this away, but decided I better not here. So now it's snowing here. So here come the New Mutants here. Chris Claremont loves to give a lot of exposition, but I'm just sort of skipping it over here. So we have Magma, Cannonball, Mirage, and then Wolfsbane, and then Sunspot here. So and Claremont's telling us a little bit about their powers here. As I mentioned, I have a playlist here, so feel free to check it out, or go to that to the Marvel fan page, and you can read on each character's bio. So Danny says here, oh no, I bet this snow reminds Amara of her mountain home the way it reminds me of mine. She probably misses it just as much. Maybe I can cheer her up, she says. Let's see, I'll touch her mind very gently with mine, but I don't want to botch things the way I did in Rio by latching onto the image of something awful. I'm after a specific kind of image that'll make Amara feel good when I find it. I'll create a spirit form of it so she can see. And of course, she creates this coconut tree here, palm tree. So, Danny, is this your doing? If only you knew what happened under this tree. Okay, what? And she's like, ask Roberto. I think I'll kill him first. So, and of course, Magic is watching them play here. And she thinks they laugh so easily. Well, I've forgotten how to cry. I want to play, she says, but I don't know how to ask. The only person in the mansion I'm truly comfortable with, around whom I can best relax and be myself, is my best friend and roommate, Kitty Pryde. She's away with the X-Men on a mission. Ileana's mind is close to me, says Professor Xavier from inside here. Try as I might, I cannot penetrate the barrier she placed around her thoughts. What is so I'm sorry. What is she so afraid of? I'll find. She's never told us precisely what happened to her in Limbo. Could it have been so horrible? Is she trying to protect herself or us? He thinks. Of course, if you've seen my two videos on the Magic Limited series, I did 2 issues at a time, so it was a 4 issue limited series. So um, you can see what everything that happened in there. So Danny says, "There's the professor," and Cannonball is like, "Man, looks like grim death. I wonder what's wrong." And Sunspot says, "He's been that way for the past week or so." And Magma says, "I may know part of the reason. His beloved Princess Lalander had to return to her own country to do battle with her usurper sister. Professor Xavier misses her. He fears he may never see her again." And Bobby is like, our professor has a sweetheart? Well, wonders never cease, says Sunspot here. So, and then he pushes him and says, "Give it a rest, Shorty." And so you can see Amara kind of shocked as Danny pushes him here. On a little bit of dry brush here. So, and Cannonball says, "I wish there was something we could do to make the professor feel better." And then he says, "Maybe there is. Why don't we throw him a surprise party? We could get all the fixings when we're in town for dance class and have everything ready by tonight. What do you guys say?" Cannonball says, "Sounds great to me." And so, um, I'm sorry, Sunspot. Oh, so many names. "We better be on our way then. It won't be much of a surprise if the professor reads it in our minds." And then he says, "Hey, Liana, we're going to give the professor a party if you want in." Um, and Sunspot again says, "If you're only wearing a sweater, here, take my jacket. You must be freezing." And she says, "I'm fine, Roberta, really. Cold doesn't bother me. Your idea sounds like just the thing. Your idea sounds like just the professor needs. Oh, just what the professor needs. I am so sorry. I struggle with that. I'll be glad to help." And of course, we're showing Sim here all silhouetted, like we don't know who he is, but we just saw that. Here's one of the things: if you put the thing on the cover, then what's the point of hiding him? I mean, so Sim says, "There's the girl. Too many people about. Sim will bide his time. He's a long way for you, Ileana. He doesn't mind waiting a little longer," he says. So, all right. And so after Dan class, this is Stevie Hunter, and they're telling him what to do, and she agrees to help as well. And so, and Stevie says, "Good thing you chose this week for your party. I'll be away on vacation starting Thursday." And she says, "Hi, Doug." And she says, "Sorry I missed class, Stevie. You seen Kitty anywhere?" asks Doug. "Afraid not. Can I give her a message?" "Only that I need to talk to her. It's real important." "See ya," he says. So, Doug Ramsey will eventually join the New Mutants. He's probably unaware that he is a mutant, but Doug will be known as Cypher, and he'll join when Warlock makes his debut. So, and Danny asks, "I wonder what he wanted," and Bobby's like, "Who cares? It's none of our business." So, and they're all like, "How are we ever gonna fit into Stevie's wee car? That looks like a normal car." And Cannonball says, "Very carefully, kiddo." So, Off they go. They drive past the construction site where they fought the Sentinels, and that's what Sunspot makes mention. And Stevie says, "Look on the bright side, Sam. We haven't seen those mutant hunting robots since." And Mirage wonders why. So, all right. So now we've got a mall here. I love this. The mom taking the crying kid here. So then he guesses that it's her birthday. Eliana says yes. They just said, "Why didn't you tell us? We could have also made a party for you." And she just goes, "I don't mind." Sam's carrying everything here. And he says, "No problem, Miss Hunter. I can handle it fine. And besides," and he bumps into Rain here. Um, Rain says, "If you were carrying less and not trying to, hard to show off, you'd be able to see where you're going." He's like, "I'm sorry." And she's like, he asks if she's okay. And she's like, "Does it matter?" So, um, and then Danny sees the two kids from before, and they introduce Amara. I love this part. Where are you from, Amy? And she goes, "Rome." And she goes, "No fooling. I've never been to that part of New York, but I hear it's nice." So, all right. At the mansion, the professor's trying to figure out what's going on with Eliana. He reads here about Belasco. He goes, "I wonder if Stephen Strange or Nightcrawler's mom can fill in some of the gaps." And then he goes, as he feels something. He goes, "I thought I sensed another presence, but the contact was so fleeting and faint, it could have been my imagination. It felt different from the extraterrestrial scanning waves that so devastated me before. None of the alarms have sounded." That extraterrestrial scanning wave, of course, is leading up to the Secret Wars um, event. So, which is coming up pretty quick. I'm still surprised that Professor X is still in the wheelchair because throughout the entire Secret Wars, he spends it out not on the wheelchair. Of course, his legs are healed, as I mentioned before. I have a playlist, but he's getting some psychosomatic pain, which keeps him on the wheelchair. But they still draw him with the blankets, and part of the reason for the blanket is circulation. But if your legs are healed, there shouldn't be circulation problems per se. So, anyway, Sim appears here, and Professor Xavier tries to attack him psychically because he knows he can't match him uh, physically. Of course, he Sim dispatches him because that mind blast didn't quite do the trick. Professor Xavier should, as I mentioned, his legs do work. But they've really, Chris Claremont's really leaning into this whole the pain that he feels. So, which apparently doesn't work during Secret Wars. So go figure. All right, so here come the New Mutants. They've arrived. They figure the professor's taking a nap because it looks quiet. New Mutants are afraid to go inside because they don't want to the professor to see what they're trying to do here. Then he says, "After all our work, it'd be a shame to blow the surprise at this stage of the game." And Ileana says, "He can't read my mind, Danny. I'll scout the grounds. If he's here, he can hide. We can hide our supplies in the carriage house and make ourselves scarce." And Danny says, "Until Stevie lures him out into town for the hour or so to get the ready." That's great, Ileana. And Amara says, "She's very strange, Roberto. Is she a mutant like you?" Uh, and Bobby says, "We don't know. Her brother is. She reminds me of Celine." Of course, Celine would be the future Black Queen. And so they talk about her here. So, as I mentioned, feel free to check out the playlist so you can see Eliana going into the mansion. I love how everything is shaded, looks really nice. And so she's looking for the professor, but can't. Sorry about that. Having some issues here. She cannot find him. I love the scream tones here. And she's walking, and here comes a Sim. Belasco wants her back, and she screams no. So, um, suddenly you see um, these, oh my goodness, um, stepping. She's about to, I think, the stepping discs is what they're called. And look at that. She sends them all into limbo with her. This, of course, is what happened. There was an excerpt in Magic number 3, and this is what Chris Claremont is sort of filling in that gap here. And of course, now they see Sim with Ileana. So Cannonball goes to attack him, but Sim just kind of takes it. And now they're back in the mansion. Here comes Sunspot here and hits him, but again, it has no effect. And Sim just hits him back. I love how they make Sunspot completely black and then put these Kirby dots. That's very cool. So, and you can see here, Sunspot just he hits him so hard. And now Wolfsbane's gonna give it a try here, but of course they're like, Rain don't, but he hits him with his own tail. And so Danny's like, we're a team, blasted. Attacking solo is suicide. Our only hope is to work together. Amara, wait for my cue. I'll create a spirit form of whatever the ugly brute is most scared of. Please heaven, let there be something he's scared of. Then, while he's distracted, you nail him. And she goes, it's working by my ancestors. What have I done? So, it's of course Belasco is what he's scared. You disappoint me, Finn. Sorry, Sim. Can I no longer depend on you even for the most trivial errands? Belasco, have mercy, Lord. Sim is obedient. You're loyal. Sorry, Sim is loyal. And so, um, Belasco, you can see, is slowly turning into what's going to be Ileana, the Dark Child here. Of course, while that was happening, he drops her, and Stevie went to get her, and just get her out of the way before things. And so Magma's gonna generate a volcano. I'm telling you, sometimes with these powers that Chris Claremont comes up with, it's just a volcano, just like no one can detect that, even in 1983. And so she makes the volcano erupt, that little volcano, and cover Sim in the molten lava. And so they all think that they won. And look at Sim just tapping her from behind. And she looks back, and there is Sim. Um, of course, Stevie's getting into the elevator to take him down and rescue Lena. But suddenly the elevator is going up, and it's Stevie saying, "Hey, Sim is pulling us up," but she goes ahead and they jump out. Um, quick thinking here. Of course, they land hard, and so she goes. She thinks here, I'll have some lovely bruises tomorrow, assuming I live long enough, but nothing feels broken. That crash, Sim must have dropped down into the elevator. Its roof won't hold him long. We've got to move. I wish you were awake, Ileana. You could at least run. The best I can do is hobble. So, and so she falls. She's her. She hurt her knee too badly, and here comes Sim. Here, Sim is out of patient. He says here. Sim's sole interest was the Dark Child, but you had to make things difficult. Very well, then. Sim will repay you in kind. The X-Men will return home to be welcomed by your bleached bones. And don't make promises, Brogart, you won't be able to keep. And he's hit with a blast. Of course, Ileana has awakened. You finally decide to fight for yourself, says Sim. I'd have done so from the start if I'd been able to. Sim's glad. The lesson Sim means to teach you is long overdue, as Ileana and Sim are about to square off here. And so she, of course, has training in the dark arts, but she's not able to hold Sim. And Ileana thinking here, he's madder than ever. Good. I don't want him thinking about anything but his need to destroy me. The trick, of course, will be making sure he doesn't succeed, she says as she keeps using. And then she summons her soul sword and strikes him, which, of course, you can see here causes him pain. And Sim says, mercy, Dark Child, Sim begs you. And she goes, were you as generous with the X-Men? And Sim says, Sim is a demon. So, of course, kind of like, what did you expect? And Ileana says, and I am not. Thank you for reminding me. Your life has a price, Sim. Really. Renounce Velasquez served me as you did him. And she says, a fair exchange. You drove him from limbo. Sim's return. Sim doubts he'll ever return. His mental is yours by right. And she goes, what of the woman? She has seen and heard more than she should. Shall I dispose of her? And Ileana says, begone, monster, before I can receive her, and decide to avenge my butchered friends. And she goes, Stevie goes, the X-Men are dead, and of course it's another story, which, by the way, again, it's on the playlist. So, and Ileana just kind of told her, you don't want to know. And so she uses her powers to make Stevie forget. So, and then come the X-Men, and here is the party. And then he's back in the wheelchair, for God's sakes. Goodness gracious. And of course, they make a joke about redecorating as this little volcano is right in the middle of the mansion. Why is he back in the wheelchair? Goodness gracious here. And they're all wondering what happened, but Wolverine's like, I could use a cold brew. Look how young they sort of draw Wolverine. So we're almost done here. Professor Xavier says, you put up a magnificent fight against Sim, Alien. I'm very proud of you. And she says, we were lucky. And Professor says, seeing Sim must have been hard. A reminder of your exile in Limbo, opening wounds, perhaps barely healed. If you ever wish to talk about it. And she interrupts him, maybe someday, Professor. And so Professor Xavier gets up, finally, and says, would you do me the sharing of our first waltz? And so they realize now that he is able to now walk forever. So apparently now the psychosomatic thing, so it just, I guess, took a punch. And so the X-Men celebrate that he can walk. And so everyone's kind of celebrating, and Doug Ramsey's tapping at the door here. And Kitty says, come inside. And he says, you're having a party. I didn't want to intrude. Friends are allowed, dummy, she says. Is that a mountain in your living room? She says, yeah, it's Samara. She built it. No fooling. And so, look, I need to talk to you. I've got some fantastic news. I've been offered a full foundation scholarship. I'm flying up to a school for a final interview. I'd like you to come along. Me? Why? You're a student there, even if only for a week. I respect your judgment. There's more than almost anyone's. I figured I could use your advice. It's the Massachusetts Academy, which of course it's owned by the Hellfire Club. And she's like, oh no. So we'll need to look at X-Men 180, which will be the next issue that we do. And then we're going to do 3 consecutive issues of New Mutants. So here's what's going to happen here. So X-Men 180 is at the end where the X-Men go to the Secret Wars, which I am covering. I have 6 issues of the 12. Secret Wars takes place over a week, but while Secret Wars was going on, at the same time, the next 3 issues of the New Mutants will take place over that gap. So, just so that you know, so we'll do X-Men 180, then 3 consecutive issues of New Mutants before we jump back into the X-Men. So, The New Mutants, number 14 from 1983. Chris Claremont, Sal Buscema, and Tom Mandrake. Like and subscribe. I do thank you for listening. Goodbye.